So to start with, let's start with what is software testing, right? So even before that, we wanted to understand what a software is, right? So a software is a set of instructions that tells a computer what to do. So it's a set of instructions. We actually tell a computer what to perform, right? So that is what we call it as a software. So think it of like a recipe that a cook follows to make a dish. Just as a recipe has some steps and ingredients in it, right? So software too has some set of instructions, which we call it as a code. So this is what we call it as a software. The set of instructions we call it as a software. So this is a high level understanding of what a software is. So when you use a computer, a smartphone, or any digital device, right? So the software is what makes it run. So and allows you to do different things in it, right? So that is what we mean by a software. So how can we define a software is? Software is a collection of instructions given to a computer to perform specific tasks. So the task could be anything, right? So to perform each task, we provide a set of instructions to the computer. So that is what we call it as a software. Now, imagine you have any mobile app, right? So how do you get a mobile app? So you open your smartphone, if you know the app name, so you just type in your app name and download it, and then you install your app, right? And say, for example, it could be some ride app or food order app, any app, right? So imagine you have actually installed mobile app, and where you have to register, you registered, and you're trying to log in into that app, right? But it never works. Even though you are providing the right credentials, it never allows you to enter into the app. So how you feel? So you as a user, you actually feel very bad, right? So you feel even frustrated. So that's loss of trust, and it actually impacts the reputation of the company which actually developed that app, right? So if you see here, what was missing here? So the mobile app was there. You were able to register to it, but you are not even able to log into it. So what was missing here was the lack of quality check of the software. So the software was developed, but it was never checked for its quality. So what we mean by checking the quality of the software is, so if the software is working as expected, so with some expectation, the software or the app might have been developed. So we wanted to actually check the quality of the software, if it is working as per our expectation or not. But that quality check was never done to that app, right? So if there are any defects in that software or app, we wanted to find the defects. If we find the defects, then we can fix it and then release to the market, right? So this is what we call it as a quality check for a software. And this quality check is what we mean by a software testing. So very crucial phase in the industry, in any industry, not only software industry, but in any industry, testing is the crucial phase. So testing comes in between development. So any product or any application, and in case any automobile product, any product, right? Take any industry. So first there will be a development, and then we actually release to the market. But in between releasing it to the market and development, there is a there is a crucial phase called testing. So it has to go through that phase. Only then we will have the quality software or quality product released into the market, right? So how can we define software testing is? So software testing is the process of identifying the defects in a software, right? To make sure quality software is released to the customers or users. So this is what we mean by a software testing. So this is a simple definition of a software testing. So we have a software. So how do you say that it's like a quality software is? So we have to identify the defects in the software, thereby reporting that defects to the developer team. So developer team actually develops the software, right? So we actually, after identifying the defect, we assign these defects to the development team. So the development team works on the defect and fixes it. So that's how we actually get the quality software for that application. And then once we confirm that the software is quality enough, then we can actually release it to the market. So software testing is the process of identifying the defects in a software to make sure quality software is released to the customers. So this is what we mean by a software testing. Now, testing is of two types. So we can test any application in two ways, right? So it can be tested manually. So what do you mean by manual testing? So as the name suggests, so manual testing is done by a human. So any testing performed by the human tester is called as a manual testing. So here we are not going to use any tools. Entirely the testing will be performed by the human tester. So no, without any help of tools. So human actually test the application, then it is called as a manual testing. And say let's take an example. Like say for example, as a human tester, you are actually testing some application and you found some bug. So we call if there is any issue in the application, meaning so it has to work in some way according to our expectation, but it is not working according to our expectation. That is what we call it as a defect. It can even be called as a bug, issue. All the ones are same. So they are like synonyms. So so if you find any defect in the application, so what the testing team does usually in the software industry is they actually assign that to the concerned development team who has developed that piece of software. Then development team works on the fix. So once the issue or the defect is fixed, then it is again back to the testing team, or in most of the cases, it is assigned to the tester who actually raises the defect. So the tester again tests the bug or the defect. So if the issue is resolved or not. So this type of testing we call it as retesting. So testing the fix of the reported bug to ensure that the defect has been resolved is what we call it as a retesting. So if it is resolved, that's fine. So in some cases, even after developer claims that the issue is fixed, in sometimes the defect might not be still fixed, or it might not be according to the expectation, right? So in such cases, what tester does is it again they open the defect and raises the ticket back to the developer team, right? So again, developer team works on it. It comes back to the testing team. So if it is again testing team or the tester, human tester works on it. If it is resolved, then that's fine. That defect will be closed. So this is a continuous process. So this we are talking only for one defect, right? So for any defect, so this is the process for the manual testing. And this process, we call it as retesting. So testing the fix of the reported bug to ensure that if the defect has been resolved really or not. So is what we call it as a retesting. And to ensure that the recent changes are, so there needs to be some code changes to the application to fix this issue, right? So this might actually introduce some new defects into the existing functionalities. So they say, for example, there are already 10 features in your application. So you found a bug in one of the feature and the fix was given to this defect. So you already verified this defect and it was working fine. And you actually close the defect, that's fine. But you wanted to make sure the other 9 functionalities are not affected by this code change. So we wanted to make sure. So how can we make sure that the other 9 functionalities or 9 features are working properly? We again need to test all the test cases related to those features, right? So this type of testing we call it as regression testing. So regression testing, what we can say is to ensure that recent changes have not affected the existing functionalities. So this we call it as a regression testing. So these are the 2 types of testing. So if you see here, like regression testing involves a lot of effort, right? So once a defect is fixed, retesting might be a bit easy. Like we only verify the defect, if it is fixed or not, right? If it is fixed, we can close it, fine. But regression testing, as there are some code changes, and code changes might not only be for the defect fix. There could be new enhancements to the application. So as the application evolves, so there could be multiple enhancements to the application, right? Many new features might be coming added to the application. So in that case, so there could be multiple changes coming into the multiple changes and addition of new features to the application or the product. So in such cases, there are high chances that the existing functionalities, existing features might be affected. So as a tester, we have to make sure that the recent changes, any recent changes coming into the application should not affect the existing functionalities which are working properly earlier. So this type of testing we call it as a regression testing. So if you observe these two testing which are done by a, using manual testing by a human tester, right? So there are some challenges. So if you observe, if you take a retesting, right? So the same test was repeatedly tested multiple times by the tester, right? So if the defect was not fixed, right? And regression testing also. So because of that change, we have to actually test complete all the feature, at least major functionalities of the application. So coming, that's we discussed, that's a regression testing, right? So this actually takes a lot of time. So this we are talking only about some one human tester, right? Say for example, the application is huge and it has multiple components and several features in it, right? So we need a big huge testing team to test this application, and again, uh, you know it actually takes long time for any changes to come in. You have to repeat all the tests again as part of the regression testing. So we can observe two challenges here. So the two challenges are, it actually takes long time for testing, as well as it actually costs for the resources. So you have to, as the number of features grows, so only the limited number of testing team can't actually achieve the goal of testing all the features on time, right? So as it is taking long time, we need to actually take the large group of the testing team, so which actually costs for the company. So these are the two challenges we can easily observe at a high level for a manual testing, right? So time and cost. So what's the solution for this then? So we know what manual testing is. A manual testing is done by a human tester where no tools are involved, and we understood how that is performed, right? And we even understood what are the challenges when doing the manual testing, right? So it actually takes long time for testing. It actually costs more to the company, as we need huge number of testing team, right? So how do we resolve this problem? So to resolve this challenge, so automation tools were introduced. So what does the automation tools does was like, so say for example, we discussed what's our manual testing is, right? So there are two kinds of testing: manual testing, or it can be done by the manual testing, which is done by the human tester, we discussed. So in the same way, there is automation testing as well. So in this case, automation is not done, in this case, testing is not done by the human tester. Instead, it is done by the tools. So we as a human make some tools. There are some tools which actually automates the process of human interactions on the application. Say for example, you are testing some application. uh, Say for example, you are actually trying to log into some, or you are testing some login feature where you provide some email id, your password, and then you click on the submit button and you wanted to check the functionality. So this can be done by a human. But in the same way, we wanted to mimic this behavior with an automation tool. So this is what we call it as a automation testing. So when a testing is performed by a human tester, it is called as manual testing. The same test, if it is performed by the automation tool, we call it as a automation testing. So in automation testing, automation tools will actually test the application, right? So testing is performed using automation tools with minimal or no human intervention. So we'll come to this point why we need human intervention still, or in some cases we don't need the human intervention. So once we write the automation script, so that will actually execute the actions on the actual application test. So this is what we call it as automation testing. Hope it is clear till now. So if it is fine, so if it is clear, just put it on the chat box. Okay, I okay, I receive this. Okay, perfect. So we can continue. Now we understood what automation testing is. So now let us understand how automation tools work. So automation testing is performed using automation tools with minimal or no human intervention is what we understood, right? So now we wanted to understand what how automation tools work. So we know automation tools are going to automate our or mimic our human interactions on the application. That is fine. But how these automation tools are going to work, that we wanted to know, right? So let's actually find out like how automation tools work. Say for example, you have a test case. I have a test case. So what is a test case? So test case is a step-by-step action which is performed. Like there will be multiple steps. So we follow this set of steps in that order to actually test one task, one feature, right? So that is what we call it as a test case. So this is done. Usually this is done manually by a human tester. But now we wanted to perform the same test case automatically by the automation tool. So say for example, this is our tool. So how do we make these steps, performed by the automation tool? We know if these steps are written in any English language, so and it is given to any human tester, right? So tester reads each step and performs the corresponding action on the application. So say for example, this is our application. So this is application under test. So what the human tester can do is, so each step can be read and done on the application under test, and then we can compare the expected result with the actual result. So what expected result is, so when we wanted to perform some action, so we know what has to be done, what will be the outcome. So that's our expectation. So that is our expected result. But when you are go through the steps and doing the actual testing on the application under test, so there could be some other different outcome, right? So that is what we call it as a actual result. So when we say test case is passed is, so when our expected result is same as our actual result. So actual result should be same as our expected result. Only then we say that the test case has been passed or successful, right? So this is what we know a manual tester can do, right? But now we wanted to mimic, or we wanted to have these steps taken by the tool, automation tool. So how can the automation tool know to perform these steps? So it's not a human, right? So it can't understand this language. So as a human tester, if you know English and these steps, you're reading these steps, you can do the testing on the application. But automation tool doesn't understand this language, like English language, right? So we have to communicate with the tool in a different language. So automation tool, how it does these steps is like it actually has to read each step and convert it into a script, right? So each step has to be converted into script, and then it has to automate the actions onto the application, right? So how are these scripts written? So don't get confused. Script is nothing but the language which a tool can understand, right? So when we wanted to communicate, like say for example, we are communicating. So what's the medium of communication between us now? So English is the language of communication, right? So medium of communication between us now. So in the same way, automation tool can understand some language. So that language is called as a programming language. So that only if you provide the instructions to the tool in that programming language, only then the tool can understand what has to be performed on the application. So our challenge is to convert these test case steps into scripts. Script is nothing but the language or the tool can understand. So in order to make the tool understand, we need to actually learn the programming language that the tool understands. So it could be programming languages, could be C, C++, Java, C Sharp, Python, and so on, right? So these are the different programming languages available. So whatever the tool supports, the programming language, at least one language that tool supports, we have to learn to make the tool, understand what we are actually expecting the tool to perform on the application. So to write the scripts, we need to know the programming language. So programming language will have its own syntax. It will have its, data type, variables, and whole stuff. So it is built such a way that the tool can understand the programming language. So in order to make the tool work, so we have to learn the language which the tool understands. So that is what we call it as a programming language. Once we know and once we are familiar with programming language, then we can provide the instructions to the tool in that language. So the tool easily understand what you have written, which we call it as a script. And based on this script, it actually performs actions on the application, like how a human performs actions on the application. In the same way, automation tool does the repeats the actions on the application. But as this is a tool, it will be very fast. Uh, so it will be very fast and it saves time. And also, so you have, when we are saying writing the script for the automation tool to mimic the test case, so that might be an effort, definitely, but it will be a one-time effort. This is what we need to remember. So when you are testing the test case, that is effort every time, the same effort. Say for example, it is taking some half an hour of time, right? So 30 minutes of time. When you are doing a when you are actually testing a test case manually, it might be taking some time, some 30 minutes of time. So any time you repeat the test case and you wanted to test the test case, so it takes exactly the 30 minutes of time, more or less, right? But the automation tool, if you actually write the script once, you can run the script any number of times on the application. So any number of times in the future, right? So that will be faster, and it's only one time effort, but multiple times you can run it. So this is how you can actually save lots of time using the automation tools. And coming to the cost, definitely when you write a lot of scripts with using the automation tools, multiple test cases are already automated, right? So you don't need the huge testing team in your team to test your application, right? So you just need a small bunch of testing team who knows automation, who can actually know the programming language and make the tool, understand what has to be performed on the application. They can actually, as they know the programming language, they write the scripts and have the actions performed on the application. So that all the test cases are run by the automation tool. So that will be faster, and it can be only done by the minimal group of testing team. So this way, we can actually overcome the challenge of uh, time as well as cost. Indirectly, we can say the effort required, right? So this is the significance of the automation tools. So maybe not all the test cases can be automated, but what are all the test cases can be automated? So that we have to identify first, and we can actually automate those type of test cases using any automation tool. So this is for any automation tool, right? So we have understood why, how the automation tools work, and uh, how significant like a programming language is in order to learn any automation tool. So learning automation tool, so the prior knowledge, the prior requisite is knowing any programming language that the tool supports. So So that's the significance of programming language. We need to have the knowledge of programming language in order to actually start writing scripts for the automation tool. Now we'll come to Selenium. So Selenium is the automation tool we have chosen, and the programming language we have chosen is Java. So Selenium understands multiple languages. We'll come to that later. So among that, Java is one of the programming language, in which we can actually write instructions to the automation tool called Selenium. So in this course, we have chosen automation tool as Selenium and the programming language as Java. So we are going to provide the instructions to Selenium in programming language called Java. So why Java is? Java is one of the most widely used programming language across the industry even today, right? So this is the reason we have chosen Java. And Selenium has its own pros and cons that we are going to discuss in few minutes. So now let's discuss what Selenium is. So Selenium, though we are saying it as an automation tool, so it is not one tool. So it's a collection of libraries. So it's a set of libraries. So when you say it's a set of libraries, those are jar files. So jar is a Java archive files. So we'll come to this in the coming sessions. But at a high level, you can think it of like a set of libraries. Some set of files are required, and these set of files comes as a package, as a zip file. So we can download these zip files from the Selenium official website, and then we can unzip it, and we actually configure these files into the project. All those comes under the configuration, how we do it. But at a high level, we need to understand Selenium is not one tool. It's a set of libraries. So Selenium is a set of tools, a set of libraries, and we can only automate web-based applications using Selenium. So Selenium can be used to automate web-based applications, and it is a set of libraries. So when we say it's a web-based automation tool, and we can automate web-based applications using Selenium, so we need to understand what are the different types of applications available, right? So Selenium supports web-based application. So in that case, we have to know what are the different types of applications we have, right? So there are majorly three types of applications. Desktop applications. So desktop applications are the like Windows applications. So in earlier days, say for example, going back to 25 years, so there was no internet, right? So only there was softwares which we can install on the individual machines. So and we can only perform within that machine. We can actually launch the applications, and then we can work or perform whatever task we wanted, right? So those applications we call it as desktop applications or Windows applications. Example, even today we do have the desktop application. So if you see, Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, any application which we launch it on the desktop, so that we call it and have no connectivity to the internet, we can call it as a desktop applications. Then came web-based applications, right? So web-based applications need internet connectivity, and they actually work on the HTTP or HTTPS protocol. So we as a client, we launch a browser and we actually access the web application through a browser. So for which we need an internet connectivity. So example can be include like Amazon, Flipkart, so any banking application, right? So these are all comes under web applications, where we have the client and the server installed on some remote location, where the client and server communication happens through the some protocol called HTTPS or HTTPS, right? So this is what we call it as a web application. And the last type of application, it is famous. So it's a mobile apps, right? Mobile applications, which the apps comes under mobile, right? So which are designed only for the mobile. So those we call it as applications, or in short form, we usually call as apps, right? So these are called as mobile applications. So mobile applications, the examples are could be anything like WhatsApp, Telegram, Snapchat, Facebook, right? So these are all the mobile applications. So these are the three types of applications available. So among these application types, three types, Selenium supports web-based applications, right? Selenium supports web-based applications. So meaning we can automate applications which are web-based using Selenium. And Selenium was developed by Jason Huggins. So there was a developer who was working for ThoughtWorks company. So by name Jason Huggins. So before even 2004, that was the era where the internet actually started and web-based applications started. So it was new at that time. And Jason Huggins was a developer who was working for ThoughtWorks company. And for his testing, so he was developing a product or application. And for his testing, so he wanted to automate his testing. So for that, he has actually written some libraries to actually automate his test cases. So that has become the set of libraries, and later part of the time, so it was internal to that company. So internal means, so it is only available or accessible only to that company, within that company. So he just has written those set of libraries for his own application to test. So that has later become open source and accessible to everyone, right? So that is what we are now calling it as Selenium. So Selenium is free. So you don't need to purchase any license for this. You can directly download it free of cost, and we can use it directly. So this is what we mean by free, right? And Selenium is open source. So what open source means is, So it is openly accessible for everyone, for anyone. We can modify the code and we can share it, right? So and we as it is open source, it has like active and a large community where the development where we can have the continuous development, and also we have the support for that as it has large community, right? So it is open source, meaning it is openly accessible. So anyone can access its code, Selenium code, and we can actually share, like we can contribute to its development. So that's about what we mean by open source. And Selenium is not one component, right? One complete tool. It's a collection of multiple components. So Selenium is a collection of multiple components. Like IDE is one component, WebDriver, Grid. So IDE is integrated development environment. So it is a record and playback tool, which actually is available as an extension for the browsers. So we can automate like a simple test cases, we can automate using IDEs. And WebDriver is an API. So it is API which we can actually use it to automate the test cases. And Grid is Grid, we can use it for the parallel testing. Like say for example, I wanted to test my test cases on a remote machine on multiple browsers, multiple platforms. So in that such cases, we use the Grid. So Selenium is a collection of multiple components. So let me show you the Selenium website. So this is the official website of Selenium. So if you see here, it is a collection of three components we said, right? WebDriver. So WebDriver is a robust browser-based regression automation suite, right? And IDE is a playback tool, record and playback tool. And Grid, we can use it for distributed execution. We can run the test on several machines and manage multiple environments in parallel, right? So that is what we call it as a Grid. So these are all the different components available in Selenium. And this is about Selenium, right? Now we wanted to understand what are the advantages of Selenium. So these are all the features of Selenium, but why we need to use Selenium? So for that, we need to understand what are all the advantages of Selenium. So Selenium has different advantages. The first one, we can easily say that it is a open source. It is free of cost. Before Selenium came into the market, there were tools like a QTP, right? So which were licensed. So any company, if they wanted to automate their applications, they need to buy QTP, but it will be licensed. The tools are licensed, right? So multiple license has to be purchased. So one license has to be purchased for each automation tester. So that would actually cost a huge amount, right? So that's how the automation tools were working at that time. Then came Selenium, which is an open source. As it was free and it was open source, it became very familiar. So that's one major advantage of Selenium, right? So other advantages of Selenium are like it supports multiple platforms. So multiple platforms in the sense it supports multiple operating systems. So it supports Windows, Mac OS, and Linux, right? And Selenium supports multiple browsers as well. So we can automate web applications on multiple browsers. So why do we need multiple browser support is so you're as a company, you might be developing some application, right? And you might be releasing it to the market. So any customer or any user, whoever wants to use our application can, as it is a, say for example, it's a web-based application. You wanted to use this web-based application. So as a user, you have a choice to use any type of browser, right? So you can launch it, you can launch any browser and access that web application. So this any application, so if it is developed web-based application mainly, so it has to go through the testing on different browsers. So that is what we call it as cross-browser testing. And luckily, Selenium actually supports multiple browsers. So we can run Selenium tests on multiple browsers. So only with a minimal change in the scripts, we can make it work on multiple browsers. Even in some cases, you don't even need any changes. So you write the script once, and we can actually run those test cases on all the supported major browsers. And next advantage is multiple language. This is very important. So in Selenium, so we write the script, right? And to write the script, we need to know the programming language. This we discussed. And programming language, there are multiple programming languages, like several programming languages available in the market. And Selenium supports multiple languages. So if you know, you don't need to know only Java. So say, for example, you are a JavaScript lover, right? So you know Python. So then you can start, writing the scripts using Selenium, using your preferred or favorite language. So these are all the languages, programming languages supported by Selenium. So it supports multiple languages. That's a major advantage. So there could be developers for the different programming languages, right? So if you know any of one of these programming languages, you don't need to only know Java. So you can choose any preferred languages from this list. So if you're familiar with any of these programming languages, you can start writing the Selenium scripts. So this is the major advantage of Selenium. And as we discussed, Selenium supports parallel testing. With parallel testing, we actually save lots of time. So as we said, we wanted to test cross-browser, right? So once we write the scripts, we test it on one browser, and then we wanted to actually have these test cases executed on all the browsers across all the platforms as well. So on remote machines. So in such case, we can use Selenium Grid for the parallel testing. So at the same time, so on multiple browsers, on multiple operating systems, the test cases get executed. Just imagine, it saves a lot of time, right? So as it is parallel, so parallel in the same sense, so testing done at the same time. So testing, if some test cases are executed on Chrome, at the same time, the same test cases are gonna execute on the Edge browser as well at the same time. So which means like, so once you start the running the scripts, so at one particular of time, so all the test cases get executed on across all the major browsers. On this, you can replicate on remote machines on different platforms as well. Like on Windows, you can repeat all these tests on Linux, on Mac OS, like that. So this saves a lot of time, and your test cases or your coverage will be extensive. So this is the advantage of parallel testing, and this is supported by Selenium. So these are the main advantages of Selenium. Like any other tool, Selenium also has its own limitations. Before discussing that, I just wanted to make sure if it is clear till here. If you have any questions, you can put it on the chat related to this topic, which we discussed till now. If it is clear, we can go ahead with the next topic. Hope it is clear till now. Okay, I can see some responses. Okay, so I think, yeah, we can move to the next topic. So as any tool, so Selenium also has its limitations. So what are the limitations of Selenium? So Selenium supports, as we discussed, it doesn't support Windows-based applications. So it doesn't support actually mobile applications as well. So, but we do have an alternate for this. So Selenium can integrate with the third-party tools like AutoIT, SQL, Robo API, all these kinds of third-party external tools, right? So we can use these tools to automate the Windows-based actions. So even though it is Selenium can't support Selenium only supports web-based applications and doesn't support desktop applications. So we do have some alternatives, we can use these third-party tools like AutoIT, SQL, these tools to automate the Windows-based actions. But on itself, Selenium can't actually support the Windows-based applications. And Selenium doesn't have any built-in reporting support. So what do we mean by reporting? So when we actually have a huge number of test cases to be executed, right? So we wanted to track these test cases. Like say, for example, I have run my script, automation script, to run some X number of test cases. At the end of running all these test cases, I wanted to have a report where I can see what are all the test cases passed and what are all the failed test cases. Later, I can deal it with what are all the failed test cases. We can see, or we can manually test those failed test cases if they are false positives or really they are failing, or right. But before that, we need a report which actually gives us this information. Unfortunately, Selenium doesn't have it its own built-in reporting feature. So we can say reporting is not supported by Selenium. But again, we do have some frameworks, other frameworks other than Selenium, out of Selenium, which we can use for reporting purposes. One such framework is TestNG. TestNG is a testing framework which you can use. So there will be annotations in it. We can group the test cases, we can organize it, and then we can even get the TestNG reports. And we do have something called extend reports. So this is a famous one. So we can use extend reports. So we get a reports with graphs and what are all the number of stats, right? So we can get it using extend reports. So we can use this third-party tool called extend reports as well for reporting purposes, even though we don't have the built-in reporting feature within Selenium. And Selenium doesn't support read or write to Excel files. So why do we wanted to read from an Excel file or write to an Excel file is, so say for example, you wanted to test some feature. Say for example, you wanted to test some date of birth, right? So how do you test a date of birth, like, right? So you do have some different formats, right? So you can give it in DD, YYY format or MMDD format. In a different format, right? So even you can start it with year first, like that. So all this we call it as a test data to that field called date, right? So in such cases, what we usually do is we provide this complete list of test data in some external file like CSV file or Excel file, right? And we read this data into our Selenium scripts. So this is what we call it as a data-driven testing. So this type of, in such cases, we put some test data in our Excel files. We wanted to read this test data from the Excel file. So this, in such cases, when we wanted to read that data from the Excel file, so that kind of support is not there in Selenium. And when we wanted to write, when we wanted to write to the Excel files, so the use case could be simple, like whenever you wanted to say some, for example, you wanted to mark some test cases as passed, and if it is failed, you wanted to mark it as failed, like that. So in such cases, we wanted to write to some Excel files, right? So these are not supported by Selenium. But again, we do have some alternative. We do have some third-party tools called Apache PY, which we can use it to actually read and write to the Excel files. So even though Selenium, like it doesn't have its own built-in features for performing some operations, but we can still have some alternates which can be covered using the third-party tools. So we can integrate with the third-party tools. Selenium allows integration with the third-party tools. And coming to the last limitation, the Selenium can't actually automate the graphs. So graphs are dynamic, right? So you provide some data, some number, some stats to it. So based on that, graphs actually are built, right? So in such cases, so those graphs, which are all, whichever is in dynamic nature, so Selenium can't actually automate, or we can't automate it, as we can't predict the expected behavior, as it is volatile and it changes every time. So we can't actually automate the graphs. And we can't actually automate CAPTCHA as well. So CAPTCHA is given for that purpose, right? So it actually challenges to prove that you are a human or not. So any text written in any image, right? In image, or we are getting multiple kinds of CAPTCHA nowadays, right? So that actually challenges and to prove that you are a human. So definitely a human only can actually enter that CAPTCHA and prove as a human. Definitely any automation tool can't actually mimic this CAPTCHA. So these are the limitations of Selenium. So if you see, though we have some limitations within Selenium, those are actually can be overcome using the external tools which can be integrated in Selenium with this third-party tools, right? So we have the limitations, but we do have the alternatives for that as well. So these are the limitations of Selenium. Now we'll understand how Selenium evolved. So Selenium history, we can call it as Selenium versions. So these are the different Selenium versions. So Selenium started with 1.x. Like in the first version, there was IDE, so integrated development environment, where we can record some actions of the test case and we can play back. So for any basic test case to automate, this is fine. But in order to have a complex test case with multiple validations, multiple test data, so then this is not feasible. So it came as an extension for the Firefox browser first in the first version. And also we have remote control, RC, which we called as RC in short form. So here we have a server running. We need to make that server start before we actually run the scripts, and a JavaScript will be injected into the browser. So that's how the RC works, right? And grid is used for the parallel testing. And when we wanted to run the test on the remote machines, remote nodes, so then we use the grid. So this is what was available in the first version of Selenium. Then came the second version. So Selenium 2, Selenium 2.2 version, 2 version, right? So here we do have the same features. Along with that, we got the WebDriver. So WebDriver is an API where it can actually directly communicate with the browser. Earlier, we used to start the server in RC and stop the server and then inject the JavaScript into the browser. All those things used to happen, right? So WebDriver directly communicates with the browser. There is no medium in between. It directly communicates with the browser. So that came in the Selenium 2 version, right? And then came in Selenium 3. So in the Selenium 3, along with the Selenium 2 features, we got Chrome extension for the IDE. And Selenium 4, we got Edge extension for the IDE as well, and along with the Selenium 3 features. Also, there are some changes like it is W3C. It follows the W3C standard. So this is new in the Selenium 4 version. And the latest version in Selenium is, I think it is Selenium 4.21.0. So we can check it. So this is the official official website of Selenium, and you can see here, right? So you can click on download, and if you see here, as we discussed, Selenium supports multiple languages, right? C#, Ruby, Python, JavaScript, and we have Java here. And you can see stable version here. So the stable version today is like 4.21.0. So this is the stable version. 4 is the major version. 21 we call it as a minor version. So this is the stable version supported by Selenium as of today. So we can download this. When we click on this, we actually get the Selenium zip file, and and then we can unzip it and configure it, which we are going to see in the upcoming sessions. As we discussed, Selenium is open source. You can see here the change log, right? So if you click on it, you can see the change log of each version. So what are all the new features, or what are all the modifications, what are all the fixes available within that version. So this is the version, right? So what are all the new fixes or enhancements that are listed here. So this is open source. We can view it like for each version as well, right? So we can even get the source code of Selenium here, as it's open source, right? So this is all about Selenium. Now coming to what are all the topics we'll cover for this course. So topics like, first, as we discussed, we are going to learn the programming language called Java. So in that, so Java, Java, we can call it as an ocean. So it's huge. So we can't learn complete Java, but so within Java also there is some advanced and core Java, and within core Java, so we as a tester. So why we have advanced and core Java is, so advanced Java features are learned by developers. So developers are the ones who actually develops the software, but a tester actually needs to learn a programming language to actually test up or write the scripts for the automation tool. So developer develops the software, tester actually tests the software by writing the automation scripts using the automation tool, right? So for that also we need to write the code. We need to provide a set of instructions, and for that we need to know the programming language. And for that we core Java, if we learn core Java also, it is more than enough. So we are going to cover all the core Java concepts at a high level. So we are not going to go in detail about it, but whatever is required for the Selenium tester, automation tester, so that we are going to learn in the core Java. All those topics will be covered under core Java, and it is going to take like at least 3 to 4 weeks. So once we are familiar with this programming language with core Java, then it is very easy to actually write the scripts in the automation tool or learn Selenium. So learning Selenium is very easy once you are familiar with the programming language. This is the reason curriculum has been designed in such a way that we are going to cover all the topics in core Java. So once you are familiar with this, so you have to practice a lot the core Java concepts. So once you are familiar with this, then it will become easy for you to write the automation scripts, Selenium scripts. So we're going to cover the WebDriver. We'll cover TestNG. So TestNG is used to group and organize the test cases, using the annotations. And then we'll see grid. Grid we already discussed. We'll see the frameworks along with the e-commerce application. So we'll cover the hybrid framework. We'll see Cucumber. Cucumber is a BDD framework, so which is written in the Gherkin language. And we'll even see the CA, continuous integration tools like Maven, GitHub. So Git and GitHub is used for the source control, and Jenkins. So Jenkins is used to automatically trigger the build and automatically trigger the automation scripts, right? So these are all the topics we are going to cover, and the complete. If you want to see the complete course contents, you can visit this link. So we do cover more topics. I have put only at a high level. I have mentioned some of the topics here. But if you wanted to look at the course contents or the complete curriculum, you can follow this link. So you can open this link and you can view the complete course contents. So now I'm going to take so if you have any questions till now, related to the topic and, courses in the topic, you can put it on the chat. So after this, I'm going to cover generic topics. Hope it is clear till now. So, okay, I'm going to cover the generic topics now. So along with this, along with the course contents, right? So we are going to provide resume preparation. Once at the end of the course, we are going to provide how you prepare the resume, what are all the important interview questions, all those type of PDF materials will be shared to you. So it becomes easy for you to prepare for the interviews. Even if you are confident enough and if you say that you are ready for the interviews, then we can even take a mock-up interview. So that's what we provide as part of the course. And coming to the duration of the course. So the duration of the course will be for 11 to 12 weeks. So in order to cover all these topics which are provided in the curriculum, so we need at least 11 to 12 weeks to cover all these topics. So weekly, there will be 5 sessions. It will be from Monday to Friday. This is IST, right? So if you are from India and if you are from US or Canada and if you are from Central Time, East Time, so then it will be like Sunday to Thursday for you. So weekly there will be 5 sessions and it will take a total of 11 to 12 weeks. And each session daily will have a 1.5 hour session. So 1 hour 15 minutes to 1.5 hour we'll have a session followed by the questions. So if you have any questions regarding the previous session or regarding any assignments, so then you can actually use this time. So which will be like 15 minutes. So which we can have the question and answers, and we can actually have the discussion on whatever issues or questions we have. So this is how the course will be, and tomorrow's session will also be a free demo session. You can attend the tomorrow session also. Tomorrow we are going to actually talk about, we will start programming language, Java. We already understood how significant any programming language is for to automate any automation tool, write scripts in any automation tool. So we are going to start Java tomorrow, and we'll see how to install Java, how to install Eclipse, and so on in the tomorrow's session. And coming to what you're going to get after each session. So you're going to get all the class notes. So class notes in the sense, whatever will be written while discussing discussing the session. So that is what we call as classroom that will be shared. So I'll be sharing some PowerPoint presentations while we in the upcoming session. So those PowerPoints will be shared, and I'll be sharing some PDF materials as well related to the uh, daily topics that will also be shared. And each session will be recorded, and that video recording will be shared on the daily basis after the session. And we'll be having multiple examples and demos. So we'll be writing some scripts, right? So to automate the tools, to automate the test cases. So those scripts will be shared. We'll be writing several programs in Java while practicing Java. So all those programs will also be shared. All these material will be shared on the daily basis. And how it is gonna share is, so it is put in the Google Drive, and so it once it is shared, so it's one single link. So you can follow that link. So the course content or the course going on, like each session's recording and all the material will be uploaded to that link. So you can always find that information or the material in that link. And Zoom link will be sent. So whatever Zoom link you are following today, so that will be applicable for tomorrow as well, as it is a free demo session. So we can use the same link to join tomorrow's session as well. But if you are interested, you can enroll into the course after the tomorrow session, and you can continue the classes from Monday. So I can say that this course is like designed in such a way that it is applicable for anyone. Like if you are a manual tester and if you wanted to learn automation, then this course is for you. If you are a fresher, you wanted to enter into the testing domain, so this course is for you. And say, for example, you might be working at some time, there might be some gap due to any personal reasons, right? But you wanted to start the career again, then this course is for you. And say, for example, you are from some background, not even an IT field, right? So it could be from different field, but you wanted to come into the IT field and you wanted to learn the automation, then this course is for you. So the curriculum is designed and the sessions will be driven in such a way that we'll start with very basic concepts. So very basic, and we'll slowly rise the level, and then we'll take it to a level, complex level, and then we'll cover all the topics. So I can make sure that you'll feel comfortable with the classes. I think if you are comfortable with this session, I'm sure that you'll be comfortable, and this will be continued till the end of the course. Only thing you have to do is attend the sessions daily. So do not miss the sessions. Even though you have the recordings, you should not miss the sessions. So that kind of dedication should be there. So if you can actually attend all the sessions daily, and if you can practice 2 hours daily, so 2 hours is enough. So if you can practice for 2 sessions daily on each topic, so trust me, so end of this course, you can call yourself as a Selenium Pro. And at the same time, so it is driven in such a way that you're ready, you're prepared for the interview even. So once the course is done, right, so you'll be pretty much confident that you can face the interview as well. So that's how the curriculum has been designed. So only thing is you have to attend the sessions daily. You should not miss any session. So attend the sessions regularly, practice them. So I'm going to give you the assignments after each session. Practice the assignments. So if you face any issues, we are going to discuss that in the next session. And practice all the examples. Apart from the 2 hours, if you're more interested, you can take more examples on the web and practice and practice. So if you practice more, like if you practice and if you learn Java, so then it becomes easy for you to learn the Selenium. Even Selenium, if you practice, right? So if within these 2 or 3 months, right? So once the end of the course, you'll feel comfortable. You'll feel, Selenium is very easy subject, and you can easily prepare your resume and you can claim yourself as a Selenium Pro. So this is all about this session. Now it's open for questions. You can put your questions if you have any questions on the chat. I think I already have some questions on the chat. So how many automation projects we are going to practice? So yeah, we are going to get the recordings, Ashwini Shivankar. So how many automation projects is? We are going to cover one automation project. So where we are going to use the hybrid framework for it. Yes. So Shruti, yeah, we are going to cover one project, so which is close to the real time project, where we are going to use the hybrid framework for it. So okay, what will be the timing for EST? I'll you can actually get the answer on the website itself. So I have mentioned one link here, right? So in this link, so you can actually convert it. So it is 7 a.m. IST. So you can easily convert it into EST. 7 a.m. IST is the time. So I think I did not mention the time here, right? So let me mention the timing here. So timings are same time, like how we joined today. So it will be the same time daily. It will be IST. Yeah, maybe 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. That's correct. That's correct, generally. Yeah. So keep yourself prepared for at least 1.5 hours. So it might even go to 2 hours in some cases. So if the topic is huge, so it may even extend, and it might go to 2 hours even. So always be prepared for 2 hour session daily. So do you have any other questions? So end of the course, I'll be sharing all the interview questions, materials, PDF materials, all the stuff required for you to prepare for the interviews. So if you have any other questions, you can put it on the chat. Or if you have any questions to ask, then you can raise your hand. I will unmute you. Then you can ask your question. So you can find the fee details and other details. I think I have covered all the details here, but related to fee payment and fee details, then you can follow this link. So here there will be the information. Yeah, we can't call that as a final class. That will be, so today and tomorrow, it will be the free demo sessions. And the sessions will be continued from Monday after the enrollment. So once you enroll, you're going to get a new Zoom link on your email ID. So using that link, you can actually join the sessions. When I say Monday, it is IST. So if you are from US or Canada, it will be like Sunday late evening for you. Okay, you can send an email on the email ID. So I'm providing the email ID. So if you have any issues in the payment or related to any generic questions, right, related to the codes, you can always reach out to me on this email. This is the email. So you can reach out to me on this email. So any other questions related to the course or topics we cover, curriculum, anything, you can put it on the chat. Or you can raise your hand. I'll unmute you. Then you can ask your question. I'm stopping the recording, but still you can ask your question.